What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today, to end off 2024, to end off the year of games that we just had, I thought the perfect thing to do would be to sit and go over my top 10 games of the year. So, to make this intro short and sweet, I just want to talk about the 10 games that I played this year that really stood out to me. Obviously, my favorite 10 games of the year. Talk about them and shine some light on them, and also talk about some honorable mentions, because really the goal of this video is to just shine some light on all of the games that I played this year and rank them accordingly, and then at the end of the video give you my game of the year for 2024. Last but not least, obviously this is my opinion. There's going to be a couple of games on here that might be a little bit controversial. Some games that I don't think other people would have on their list, but it is just my opinion. Feel free to disagree in the comments. Feel free to agree in the comments. Let's just have a good discussion about games. That's what this is all about. I just want to have and come together and talk about games. So there's a lot of games on this list that I feel like are pretty popular. A lot of people are going to have them on their top 10 list. There's a couple in there that, maybe not. So with that all out of the way, let's get into the list. First game I want to talk about really quick is Tales of Kenzara Zao. This is the debut game from Surgent Studios. So their first game, and honestly, for me, it wasn't great, but it was good. It was solid. It's a Metroidvania game and has a beautiful art style to it. It's got a really solid story that dives into a lot of deep themes. And Metroidvanias, they're not really my thing. I've only played a couple. It's not my favorite genre. I did decide to dive into it. It was free on PlayStation Plus. I was hearing some good things about it, so I decided, why not? Let's dive in. Let's give it a shot. And like I said, it's a good game. Not really my type of thing. I did finish it. I was going to go for the platinum. I decided against it once I finished it. But if you're into Metroidvanias, like I said, the best thing about this game, beautiful art style, and I would recommend it if you're into Metroidvanias and you're looking for a new one to dive into. I think this is a solid one. Next up is Open Roads. This comes from the Open Roads team, and it is a mystery adventure thriller game. It is a very short game, like I said. Can take you about 3 or 4 hours to finish. It's got a cool art style to it, and likable characters. To me, I liked the characters in this game. I thought the writing was solid. Basically, what you do is you'll go around in different areas throughout the story and interact with objects. You'll get to talk to the main character's mom about it. They kind of give some backstory and flesh out what's going on a little bit more. It takes you to a couple of different places, and by the end, it has a good ending with a very satisfying story. It keeps you on your toes. It keeps you wondering what's happening next. And I would definitely recommend this game. It's on Game Pass. Like I said, you can finish it in about 3 or 4 hours. It's a good game that you can get done in about a weekend. So if you're looking for something like that, go for it. It's on Game Pass. Open Roads. Dungeons of Hinterberg is the next honorable mention that I have. This game comes from Microbird Games, and it has a social simulation system to it, along with a solid combat system. Basically, what you're doing in this game is you'll go around to the different dungeons. You'll wake up in the morning, you'll have a conversation with somebody, then you'll choose which location you want to go to for that day. Then you'll explore that location, killing enemies, finding dungeons, and going into the dungeons, which are a good mix of combat and puzzles throughout. They're pretty lengthy, or at least they can be. You'll get good loot. You'll come back in the night, and you'll walk around the town looking for characters to talk to, spend the night with, hanging out, doing whatever they want to do. And when you do that, you'll get rewards for hanging out with that person and build that relationship up with them. It's a really cool game. It's got an interesting art style to it. It is on Game Pass, so I would definitely give this game a shot if it looks like it might be your type of thing. Next, I want to talk about Still Wakes the Deep, which is a psychological horror game coming from the Chinese room. Now, I know they have other games. They've developed a couple of other games. This is the first one I've checked out from them, and I really enjoyed it. It has a very cool premise. As soon as I saw trailers for it, just a horror game set on an oil rig, it looked like it had something good going there, so I checked it out. It came out on Game Pass. As you can tell, I'm big on the Game Pass. Pretty good deal there, but it's a psychological horror game. You'll go through this oil rig, and some creepy stuff happens. Obviously, I don't want to spoil anything. It's a relatively short game you can knock out pretty quick. Good writing. I really like the dialogue in this game. It's got a very heavy Scottish dialect to it, and I think it really works in the game's favor. But go check it out. Very creepy. Definitely one of the better horror experiences that I've played this year. Let's talk about Marvel Rivals. This is one of, if not the biggest games in the world right now. It's taking the whole world by storm. If you don't know what it is, basically it's a third-person hero shooter using Marvel characters, and that sounds like a great concept, and it is. It works really well. Granted, I have not put a whole lot of time in this game, just a couple of hours. Been playing with some friends, but what I can say is that this game is really fun, especially when you can get good at it, pick your characters. There's a very, very big character roster in this game, and that is one of the main selling points. There's a lot of characters to play as, a lot of unique play styles, and there's a lot of room to grow with this game because obviously with Marvel, you have tons and tons of characters that you can add in. So this game is free to play on everything, and if you like Overwatch, you want that in a third-person perspective, and you want to use Iron Man or Spider-Man or Hulk, this is the game for you. I would go check it out. The last honorable mention that I want to talk about is XDefiant. Now, I know everybody's heard, if you have heard about it, this game is getting shut down on June 3rd of next year. But for me, it was one of the games this year that I put the most time into. I thought the multiplayer was really fun. I thought it had great gameplay and great maps. Obviously, it's getting shut down. The progression systems were not great. Content was not coming in quick enough. But just recently, they dropped in everything they were working on, and it really makes me wonder what this game could have been if given more time. But Ubisoft decided to shut it down. So even if you wanted to play it, download it and try it out. If you're a new player, you cannot. You will not be able to download it. You can only download it back if you've recently played it. If you have recently played it and you haven't played it in a minute, I would download it back, dive back in. There's a lot of new stuff to mess with, and give it one more shot before we get shut down in June. With all those honorable mentions out of the way, let's dive into the list and go to number 10. Number 10, Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Now, before I dive in to actually talking about what I like about the game and everything like that, first thing I think we got to do is talk about how much controversy is around this game right now. I almost wanted to move it off of my number 10 spot and put another game there just because there's been so much controversy about just the way that Activision and Call of Duty have been doing things for the last couple of years. Them using AI and some of their, paid content. There's a lot of different controversy. People are leaving the game in droves. So I don't even know if I should have it as my number 10 on the top 10 list, but I do. And, this could change. You can disagree with it, and that's perfectly fine. I get it, because it is Call of Duty. It's really just not getting any better, even though I do think that Black Ops 6 is one of the best. At least it's been the best COD that we've gotten in a minute. That's not saying a whole lot, but it is the best COD that we've gotten in recent memory, probably for me since Black Ops Cold War, and even before that, Black Ops 4. So why is it my number 10 spot? First, we'll talk about the campaign. I think the campaign was, I'd give it a solid to good tier campaign. The missions in the campaign were great. Very unique. Really fun to just play, man. Like nothing that COD's ever done before. And if you play the campaign, you know what I'm talking about. This campaign goes in crazy directions with the missions that it has you take on. Lots of fun gameplay moments. I mean, there's stuff that COD's never done before, we've never seen from COD that they do in this campaign, and it works really well. The story, hit or miss. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. For how much they were hyping it up, I thought, this was going to be this big, huge spy thriller, and in some ways it was, but the story kind of left me wanting more. It kind of really didn't hit the way I thought it would. I think Black Ops Cold War, in terms of a campaign, had a better campaign. Overall, missions-wise, I think Black Ops 6 has it covered, but in terms of story, I think that Black Ops Cold War has a better story than Black Ops 6. The multiplayer is really hit or miss for me in Black Ops 6. On the one hand, when the game first came out, maybe this is for everybody, I feel like this always happens every year. Everyone's loving it for the most part. It's a brand new Call of Duty. Everyone's on the hype train. Everyone's playing a bunch of it, leveling up. Prestige is back this year. That's a huge thing, and that's one of the parts of the game that I really like, and I think that should stay for the long run. I think if they get rid of Prestige again, man, just progression takes a nosedive. Prestige does a whole lot for the progression of the game. The maps, everyone was talking about how bad the maps were. I don't think the maps are that bad, but they're not great. Gameplay's solid. It's just sometimes I like playing it, sometimes I don't like playing it. I've definitely fallen off of it since the game came out and other stuff has come out. I have not really wanted to go back and play the multiplayer, even when they've added new content, new events, new maps, and guns. The multiplayer, it's not really hit for me, and sometimes I even wonder if I like MW3 from last year's multiplayer more than this year, but that's a different conversation. Overall, the multiplayer for me, hit or miss. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. Prestige helps a lot with wanting to keep playing and progressing, but like I said, multiplayer, hit or miss. Now, the zombies, as I think where this game really shines. Is it the best zombies ever? No. Obviously, there have been better zombies modes that we've had in Call of Duty, but in recent memory, this is probably the best COD zombies that we've had. And for me, it is probably the main reason I keep coming back. When I do play Black Ops 6, 99% of the time I'm playing zombies. Just grinding camos, just playing because it's fun, and you still progress, you still level up, you can still prestige. Everything is all in one with the progression, which is really nice. But the zombies for me has been the main reason I come back and play the game, and it really, really stands out in front of the multiplayer. So zombies for me, I keep coming back to it. It's really fun. They got 3 maps now. They had 2 at launch. All the maps are great. The progression systems in zombies, like the augments, and just how you progress during the match with the weapon rarities, with pack-a-punching your gun up to 3 times. It takes a while to get fully set up, and then when you do, it feels good. And then you can also exfil every 5 rounds, which is really nice when you don't want to keep playing and then eventually die. That's a really nice feature. Overall, zombies, the main reason why I think that as a package, when you talk about Black Ops 6, what stands out to me is the zombies and the campaign. Multiplayer, not so much. Like I said, this could not be on the top 10. I could definitely swap in a game here. But if I'm being true to what were my top 10 games this year, Black Ops 6 was my 10th favorite game that came out this year. And so that's why it is number 10 on the list. Number 9 on the list is Hellblade 2. I feel like this one might be a little bit controversial. I feel like not a lot of people like this game. I heard a lot of negative things when the game first came out. Super short, not a lot there. There's not a lot of game there for how long it took to make, and just how it was hyped up and what we actually got. But for me, I really liked Hellblade 2. And I gotta say, obviously this comes from Ninja Theory. They made the first Hellblade. I played Hellblade 1 right before Hellblade 2. So Hellblade 1 was fresh on my mind when I went into Hellblade 2. And after playing both back to back, I will say Hellblade 1 is better in my opinion. But Hellblade 2, there's a lot of things I like about Hellblade 2. Obviously, if you look at the game, the game is gorgeous. Art style, visuals, off the charts. It hits, and it really carries this game. It makes you think that and this could be a bad thing. A lot of people think this is a bad thing, that you're really watching a movie or playing a movie rather than be playing a game. So, but for me, the visuals really do a lot for this game. And one of the things I love about this game that I don't know if I've heard a lot of people talk about, but for me, it's the combat. The combat in this game, for some reason, just felt so good the way that it was done. The way that it felt cinematic. You would kill someone that you were fighting, and then there's stuff happening around you. You kill someone, and you'll have another enemy get thrown into your view, and then you start fighting. Like, it's not just like there's some enemy waiting for you to be done fighting. They somehow get in front of you by some other event, and they're just there, and you start fighting. And just the sounds, the music that plays in combat, the sound design of Senua and the enemy that you're fighting, the grunting, all of that, it feels so cinematic in this game, and it really hits. It's one of the best combat, I don't want to say system because it's really basic. It's a very basic combat system, just like it was in the first game, but it was very memorable to me just because of how they did the cinematic feel of the combat. It really worked well, in my opinion. Talking about story, I agree with a lot of people when they say the story is not as good as the first game. There's some good story moments, but it kind of it doesn't all connect like the first game did. The first game had a really good story. It really hit home in some spots, had a lot of emotion and feel to it. The second game, it has some moments like that, but just not consistently like the first game did. It kind of wanders off in some spots, and that is one of the things I would say is definitely worse than the first game, along with just like pacing, characters. In the first game, it was a lot of Senua's journey. It was Senua's journey. It was all her going on one quest, and it was about fighting with herself. This game, it's a lot more of, it's still Senua fighting with herself, but it's also her helping people that are in the same spot that she is in and that she was in the first game, which is a really cool concept, a really good way to come at it from, but they didn't really take that concept and run with it like I think they could have. And for me, the story just didn't hit the same as the first game did. But even though the story has its shortcomings, I still think it's my number 9 because, like I said, combat and visuals, this game feels like a movie. It feels like I'm playing a movie, and like I said, I know that's a lot of people don't like that. They want to be playing a game. They don't want to be playing a movie. But for me, they did it really well with how cinematic this game is, how it looks, the combat. The story is not as strong as the first game, but I still think this is a good sequel to the first game. Just didn't hit the same notes as the first game and didn't do it better. but it's still my number 9 on my list. Number 8 is Neva. Neva is one of the games that have stuck with me throughout the year, and just everything about it just screams emotion, and it takes you on a journey, and it is such a good game. This is from Nomada Studio. This is their second game. Grist was their first game, which I haven't checked out yet, but I've heard good things about, so maybe I'll check it out because Neva is so good. When the trailers were coming out for this game, I knew it was going to get me emotional, and it did. The trailers really just made me want to, okay, I got to get this game. I got to experience what the devs are trying, what story the devs are trying to tell. And they told a heck of a story with this one. It is one of the stronger stories of the year. I can't say if it is the strongest. There's a lot of contenders, but it is a journey that I think everyone needs to experience because it really, really hits hard. When you go through the story, you pay attention, you're taking it all in, and then the ending is just, it hits hard. But aside from the story, that's obviously the main point of the game, the story, right? But the art style and the visuals that you're seeing throughout, that also goes right along with it and is just as strong. There's a lot of these games, I don't really know what they're called, but it's just like these, side-scrolling walking simulators, kind of like that. That's not what this game is because there is combat, but like I think of Inside, I think of Limbo, I think of Planet of Lana. There's a couple of other games that are kind of in that same category where you just let the game do its thing and you let the game tell its story. There's no voice acting. Well, there is a little bit of voice acting, but not really. Mostly it's the game and the visuals telling you the story. And when that's the point of your game, you need your visuals to be really good. And this game's visuals are fantastic. The art style, this game is beautiful and goes right along with the story. They go hand in hand, and they do a great job of complementing each other on the way to the ending, telling a great story. There is combat and platforming in this game, and it's solid. It's not world class. It's not anything crazy. It gets the job done. It's not supposed to be this crazy combat system where you're taking on hundreds of enemies at a time, parries and stuff like that. The combat is there to help give the gameplay a little bit more pizzazz. It's there to keep you interested in the game. Visually the story's going, and then the combat happens and you're kind of sucked in. You're doing the combat. So the combat, like I said, it's good. It's solid. Not the main point of the game. The visuals and the story really carry this game hard to a fantastic game. I think everybody should experience. It is on Game Pass. I think it's like $20 base if you can catch it on a sale. It's a pretty short game. I don't remember how long it took me to roll credits, but pretty short. I don't know if it's pretty short, but you can get it done pretty quickly, probably in a weekend, but it is worth it, and the story is going to stick with you for a minute. So I definitely recommend everyone go and check out Neva. Number 7 on the list goes to Stalker 2. This one I think everybody knows that really kept up with this game had a very troubled development cycle. Obviously, there's a lot going on in Ukraine when this game was being developed, but it finally came out after many delays and still really delivered on what it was going for. Obviously, when games have that troubled of a development cycle, you start to worry about them. They might come out, they're not finished, they're not polished. There's really, a lot of worries when it comes to games that take that long to develop and have that many delays. But GSC Game World, the developers, knocked it out. Really, they did. I will admit, I've put 25, 30 hours into the game. I did not roll credits. It is a long game. They're going to get your money's worth because there's a lot of game here. There's a lot of things to do, side quests, going after stashes, just exploring this open world, and obviously going along with the story. There's a lot in this game. So no, I did not roll credits, but like I said, 25, 30 hours into it, I feel like that's enough. I can't speak on the story. I can only speak on what I saw, and obviously there's not going to be any spoilers. But what I can speak on is the gameplay, the open world, the visuals, everything like that. So that is what I'll talk about. So we'll briefly talk about the story. Like I said, did not roll credits. I don't want to spend too long talking about the story because I didn't get to see the conclusion of it. So what I did see, I liked. I did enjoy what story was being told. Now, does that get screwed up by the end of it? Does it, kind of bump on the way to the ending? Who knows? I don't know. But what was told to me, what I did see of the story, I liked. Likable characters, good writing. It really hits that, wasteland feel, and the characters all, you feel like you're in the wasteland. The characters all go along with that, and the story is solid. Like I said, not finished it, so I'm not going to speak any more on it, but from what I saw, it was a solid story so far. Gameplay is one of the parts of the game that whenever I was, keeping up with the game, leading up to release, I've heard about Stalker, looked into Stalker, found out what it was, and I was like, okay, well, this doesn't really seem like my type of a game, and because I'm not big into those realistic, feeling heavy, one shot, one kill gameplay type games. Not really into those types of games. If this game did not come on Game Pass, I would not have bought it. But the fact that it did, it kept me intrigued. I was liking what I was seeing. I was excited for it. I did not think I would like it as much as I did. But the gameplay was really good. It feels smooth. It kind of trains your brain to not, go in guns a-blazing because you're going to get killed a whole lot. This game's pretty difficult. At least it was for me. I had some tough times with it. I died a lot. But the gameplay feels really good when you get that one-shot headshot. Or, you're in the middle of combat and you have to, slow it down. You have to slow it down and just kind of think about what your next move is instead of just running in, guns blazing. I think the gameplay is really good in this game. There were a lot of complaints when this game came out about the AI and how it was kind of buggy. It wasn't all that great, and I do kind of see that, when it comes to when the game first came out. I could definitely see how the AI was not what I think it should have been. They were still fun to fight, but there were definitely some frustrating moments with how they acted and behaved. In terms of the mutants also, same thing there. But I don't think it takes away from the game. I still think they're fun to fight, and they're still patching the game, so the AI is only going to get better. The game is only going to get better once they start patching these things that, the community says need to be patched. So that is one thing that I've heard a lot about. I think it's fine. It's not great, but the AI is solid, and the gameplay is still fun, even though the AI could be a little bit better. But what really hits for me in Stalker 2 is the world and the visuals in this game. I think this is the best looking game that I played this year. The visuals are top notch. I did not expect it to look as good as it did, especially with all the development trouble that they had. I'm so shocked that they were able to get this game to look as good as it does. And the world, it does such a great job of atmosphere. This game nails atmosphere. When 1 minute you're walking around and it's sunny and the game is beautiful, you're just kind of walking around looking for deserted buildings to explore, and then the next minute there's a tornado, thunderstorm happening, the radiation meter is going crazy. Like, it hits the atmosphere in this game so good. It's so well done. One of the best games that I've played that creates atmosphere. So good. This game does that all the time with everything that you do. Sometimes you feel creepy, sometimes uneasy. I mean, it gives you a lot of feelings with this atmosphere. It does such a great job of nailing that. Overall, this game is great. I think if it looks like your type of thing, I would recommend it. Give it a shot. It might be different, but just take your time with it. Try to get used to it. It's a little bit different, it's different from anything I've played and enjoyed for sure. But it was fun to accept that challenge and try to get used to it. And it's on Game Pass. Go play it if you haven't. Give it a shot. It's a long game. I don't know if I'll ever finish it. I would like to go back, but with so many other things coming out and so many other things I want to play, I'm not sure if I will. But the fact that I didn't roll credits and it's still number 7 on my list, it could be higher, but the fact that it's where it's at number 7, is a testament to how good this game really is. Just outside the top 5 at number 6. This one might confuse some people. It's EA Sports College Football 25. Now, disclaimer, do I think this is the 6th best game of the year? No. But it is one of, probably in my top 3 favorite games of the year. I put so much time into this game, over 100 hours, maybe even over 150 hours into this game, and don't regret it. Now, obviously, if you haven't kept up with college football and the games, this is, I think, 11 years in the making. There's not been a college football game for 11 years. So when it finally got announced that it was coming back, I was all in. Day one. Actually, even before with the early access, I was there. And I do not regret it. This game, it's not the best college football game ever, but so much better than what Madden has been the last couple years. I don't think I can go back to Madden. I have to have a football game. I'm big into football, big into college football, love college football. That's all I need. Get rid of all the other sports. College football is all I need. So the fact that the game is back and it's a good game, it sets a good foundation for what can come. And I just hope they can nail it. But College Football 25, really, really one of my favorite games of the year. Played so much and really enjoyed it. Dynasty mode obviously is a big part of college football games, and it is very good in this game. Now, like I said, this game just as a whole is a great foundation. Dynasty is not perfect. There's still a lot of things that they can add to the game to make it deeper, more replayable, but for what it is, still, I can do a Dynasty over and over and over again and not get tired of it just because of how good college football is, and just playing it in a game just hits even harder. Dynasty mode is great in this game. Like I said, it can get better, but for what is here in this game, you have 134 teams to choose from. There's a lot of choice. There's a lot of customization. Recruiting feels great. A lot of this game is just a love letter to college football fans and those who have stuck around for so long waiting for this to happen, and it finally did. And a lot of people stick to Dynasty and play it, and for what is there in this game, it is replayable. There's a lot there, and for me, it was really great to just do that over and over again throughout the year. Road to Glory is the other part of this game. You have Ultimate Team, but I'm not big in Ultimate Team. I could really care less about Ultimate Team. Obviously, that's the way they're going to make their monies from packs and stuff like that, but I could really care less. I've not even touched Ultimate Team. Road to Glory, it's solid. That's the part of the game I think can improve the most. All parts of the game can improve, but Road to Glory can, I think, improve the most. It's still solid what is there because the gameplay is so good, but it doesn't hit the same as NCAA 13, 14, 11, 12, even the older ones that all had a better Road to Glory mode just from what you do outside of the football games. Wasn't really a fan of that in this game, but still, the gameplay and college football itself is what carries this game and what builds this game, what can build the game into a better and better game each year when they eventually release a 26 and a 27. So for me, short and sweet with College Football 25. Obviously, not a very popular pick. It's not going to be on very many people's list at all. But I put so much time into it and just enjoyed it so much that it's got to be somewhere. And it comes in at number 6. Cracking the top 5 of my 2024 Game of the Year list is Helldivers 2. There's not a whole lot that I can say that hasn't already been said about how good Helldivers 2 really is. When it dropped back in February, it took the world by storm. For a good month, maybe even 2 months, obviously in the middle of the year it had a lot of controversy with the PSN stuff on Steam and on PC, but this game is just really good at what it does. It's really fun with friends. It's one of the best co-op games out there. The way that this game is set up, there's not really a whole lot of story, but the live service and what little story there is given to us from the developers and live service updates. We'll take over a planet, and the next week we're getting invaded from the automatons, or we're getting invaded from the bugs. At launch, you have the automatons and the bugs. A solid list of weapons. There was a good amount of content there, but they've just kept adding and adding and adding. And the live service in this game is probably one of, if not the best live services that I've ever seen. Talking about gameplay, it feels really, really good. It's in third person. You do have a slight first person mode when you aim in and you press in the stick or whatever that is on PC to go into like a ADS first person type mode, but it's all in third person, and the amount of crazy things that can happen because of the gameplay in this game is just great. Ragdolls, explosions, diving from side to side or forward and back, the omni movement in this game, and the guns feel really good to use, and the enemies are really fun to fight as well. You have the automatons. They're probably my favorite enemy in the game just because they shoot back at you. It gives you that challenge that the other two enemy types, they don't really give you that. But you have the automatons, really fun to fight. The bugs are a good starter enemy, but they can still give you a challenge. They attack in numbers, but they're still really fun to fight. And then most recently, Just a couple weeks ago at the Game Awards, they announced that the Illuminate are back from the first game, which I've never played, by the way, and they're pretty fun to fight. They're a really hard challenge, but overall, the gameplay in this game, along with the enemies, the amount of crazy things that can happen, it all just works so well with each other and comes together in one great gameplay experience. Visually, this game is gorgeous. It really is stunning. I think what this game does so well is the amount of different biomes that you fight in. There's so many different planets that you can go to all around the map. The map is huge, and you can just kind of scroll around the map and look at just how many planets there are to go and fight on. And obviously you can't just pick and choose which planet you fight on. The developers and what's going on in the world and universe of Helldivers, that determines where you fight. But you'll go from, with the new updates, you have these urban environments. You have a city in the middle of the map, and you kind of have a deserty outskirt that you'll go around. One time you might be in a forest, kind of looking like Vietnam. Or you might be in a snowy biome where you can pick up snowballs and use those. And there's no shortage of environments in this game. And there's also weather events like thunderstorms, or I think they're called ion storms, and a couple of other ones I can't remember off the top of my head. But the environments, the biomes, and visuals in this game, explosions. You will never see or hear a better explosion in any game. They really somehow just amped up how good that feels and looks, and it never gets old. Even when you play it over and over and over again, somehow the explosions look so good, and it just goes along with how good the game looks as a whole with all of its biomes and environments. Talking about the progression in Helldivers 2, I think it has a good progression system. There's a lot of progression in this game. It takes a hot minute to level up, at least for me, but it does feel good to do that. You unlock, new weapons, new stratagems, which is also a really good part of this game. All the different stratagems that you can use, from turrets to shields to different types of ordnance drops you can call in from the sky, or supply weapons, supply packs, all of that. There's so many things. You do this cool little Mortal Kombat style button combo to call everything in. I thought that was really cool. But there's 9 or 10, maybe even 11 difficulties in this game, so you can really kind of mess and play with what your favorite difficulty is. And obviously the more you scale up, the more rewards you get. What's cool about this game is it's kind of like an extraction shooter, where you'll go in and you have your main objective. You get that done, you can extract. But if you run around and explore the map, you can find side activities, outposts, bug nests, ships to destroy that give you extra rewards for completing them. I think the way that this game does all that is really well done, and it just keeps the replayability because it's procedurally generated. And I know a lot of people, when you hear that, you're like, ooh, that's kind of gross. But it really works in this game and keeps the game replayable and not feeling samey all of the time. Progression in this game, really solid, really enjoy it. Overall, this is a game that I think they're going to continuously update. They really got something good here. And it's a game that I know I can always go back to, play a couple of matches of it, and just have such a fun time. I don't think it'll ever get old. Will I always play it? No, just because there's so many other things coming out. But the fact that I always can rely on it to be a fun time and an enjoyable time, that is the reason why Helldivers 2 is so good and why it is number 5 on my list. Number 4, Balatro. I think I'm saying that right. I've always said Balatro, and it could be Balatro, but that just doesn't sound right. Balatro sounds more... It just sounds right to me. But anyways, Balatro coming in at number 4. Probably my biggest surprise of the year. I mean, I didn't even know about this game. I'm not even sure if it even had some kind of marketing push at some point throughout the year. The only reason I had heard about it, I had heard about people talking about it, but I had no idea what it was until the Game Awards nominees came out. And I saw Balatro get nominated for Game of the Year. So I looked into it and I was like, this seems really cool. And this is an indie game that's getting nominated for Game of the Year. It's made by one guy. I think I have to check this out. It's a poker roguelike deck building game. I mean, like, where do you hear that from at all? I've never heard of any game that's like that. And there really, truly is nothing like Balatro. It is one of the most addicting games that you'll ever play. Once you get into Balatro and you figure out how the game works and how all of its systems work, it is really hard to put it down. It really taps into that, you see numbers, the numbers keep going up and up and up, and it just feels really good to see that and play it. Obviously, poker. I really like poker. I've never actually played poker. I've just learned it from different games, and I've really gotten into poker. So the fact that I can take that and put it into a roguelike deck building game just really works for me. And you'll go in, you'll get your standard 52 card deck. You have your hands, your pair, 2-pair, full house, flush, stuff like that. And you'll play, you'll get money every blind that you play. You'll go to the shop and you can get jokers that add, they all have different, there's so many jokers and cards that do different things in this game. Like, it's hard to see everything because there's just so much of it. The jokers, they'll add bonuses, like for every 2-pair that you'll get, you'll add 100 chips onto your multiplier. So it just adds to the addicting nature. The gameplay is so solid. It's really good. And it never gets old. It never gets old. It's replayable like crazy. And I will keep replaying this game for a long time. The music in this game is also really good. I had to use the Game Awards orchestra version of the Balatro theme for the little intro to this segment, just because it is so good. But the music is really good. This is one of the ultimate chill games for me, where I can throw on music or throw on a podcast and just kind of turn my brain off enough to where I'm not really worrying about what I'm doing. I just already know what I'm doing in my head. But once you get on that run, once you start figuring out, hold on a minute, I might be able to get somewhere with this, it feels really good. Now, I will say, I've put a good bit of time in this game. I don't think I'm very good at it because I've only beaten a run twice. I haven't even beaten it on red stake difficulty yet. But there's so many difficulties. There's so many decks. There's a challenge mode that I haven't even unlocked yet. There's a lot of content here, and it's a really cheap game. I think it's like $15 at base. And it's so worth it because you're going to get your money's worth. It is so addictive. It is so replayable that it is so hard to put down. So if you don't want a game, if you're scared to play a game that you might get addicted to and just want to keep playing and playing, then don't play Balatro. But if you're excited to maybe have that happen to you, excited to feel that way about a game, and you think you might like it, you got to give Balatro a chance. It definitely deserved to be nominated for Game of the Year. There's nothing truly like Balatro. we have made it to the top 3. There are 3 games remaining, and at number 3 is Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. This is the game that I have been playing the last week. This is the game that's the freshest on my mind, and I'm not going to lie, going into it, I knew I would like the game, but I did not think I would like it nearly as much as I have been liking this game. If I had to give you one word to describe this game, it's just epic. This game is epic in every sense of the word. It really reminds me, and I think this comparison's been made a lot, of Gears of War. It feels like basically a Gears of War game set in the Warhammer universe. I really want to get into the Warhammer universe because I've been playing a bit of Vermintide 2, and I have 40K Darktide downloaded, and now I've been playing Space Marine 2. I'm like, how does all this exist in the same universe? But it does, and it's apparently one of the deepest universes you can really get into, and there's so much content there that just kind of blows my mind that I've not really gotten into it yet, but I really want to after playing Space Marine 2. Starting off with the campaign, when I first started playing this campaign, I played the first mission. I was like, okay, this is going to be a solid campaign. It's not going to be anything crazy, anything special. I think it'll just, the campaign, it's not really the highlight. You're here for, the gameplay. You're not really here for the story, but was I wrong about that? I don't think this is like any kind of crazy, unique story or anything like that. But the story that is here is really good. I've not played the first game. I have not played the first game. Now I'm going to play the first game at some point next year because I have to have more of this game. I have to have more Space Marine. But the campaign is really good. It's a pretty short campaign, but I think it's the right length for what it's going for. The story moments in this game are fantastic. Everything that you do in this game feels like that you are a part of this war that is happening. There's not been a game for a minute, probably since the Halo games, maybe even the Gears of War games, where I can feel like there's like a military battle going on between forces, and I'm a part of it. I'm helping. We're coming up with battle plans and strategies. We're talking it out. It's done really well in this game. And the characters, like I said, I thought they were going to be solid, nothing crazy. But the 3 main characters that you have in the campaign are really good. They bounce off of each other very well. There's no crazy character moments or anything like that. But their banter between each other, just the banter and dialogue in itself in this game, the writing is so good. It just makes you feel hyped and excited to be in this universe, and it really is one of the strongest parts of this game. The gameplay is what really shines, I think, in this game. Like I said, the story, a lot better than I thought. But I knew the gameplay had to be good, but I did not know how deep the gameplay would be until I started playing the game. I just thought it was going to be this standard, over-the-shoulder, third-person shooter, lots of gore, lots of action, lots of guns, stuff like that. But when I get into it and I find out that there's a pretty solid, pretty decently deep melee combat system where you can parry and dodge and do counterattacks, that was what blew my mind, and it feels so good to do in this game. There's not a whole lot of weapons, but there's not really a need for a whole lot of weapons. You're picking it up and you're shooting. It doesn't really matter what you're shooting. It's just the fact that you're killing. That's the main thing in this game. This game makes me want to kill the enemy and help our side, achieve victory. The melee combat is just something that really surprised me. I did not think it was going to be as good as it was. I didn't even know there was melee combat in this game. I just thought it was over-the-shoulder, third-person, standard shooter game. But the melee combat really surprised me. The gameplay is so good in this game, and it does wonders for the entirety of the game, and I really just want more of it. The biggest thing I can say about this game is I just want more. It's short, as a short campaign. I feel like it's pretty content heavy, but at the same time it's not. It's really weird how this game does and handles its content. You have the operations mode, which I've dove into a little bit. I've played a couple of the operations. I haven't played all of them. They've added some more post-launch. But what really sets this game apart for me is how this game, like I said earlier, everything you do in this game matters. What's really cool about it is you'll be doing the main story mission, and there'll be some sort of plan that gets drawn up. And there are 2 different squads that you can play as in the operations mode. So it kind of separates it into, we have this plan as our main squad. But we need 2 things to happen for that main plan to come together. We're going to send one squad over there and another squad over there. And you play those missions, those objectives, in the operations mode. And it ties in the story really well. I played through the operations mode, the missions that were given to me before the campaign story mission, and what I heard in the operations mission as the other soldiers, I was hearing again as the main character in the main story, and it all connects, and it feels really good. In the operations mode, it has a pretty good progression system. There's 6 different classes you can play as. All of them have different abilities and weapons that they can use, and you can kind of come up with some sort of strategy. You can play with, I'm not sure if I've said this yet, up to 2 people, so it's 3 players max. You can play this with friends, and the operations mode is solid. There's a lot of progression there. It takes a minute to level up, so if you want to go and do everything, it's going to take you a minute. But it all pays off really good, and operations mode is pretty solid. There is a PvP multiplayer in this game, and for what it is, it gets the job done. It's not the main dish, it's a side dish. You don't buy Space Marine 2 for the multiplayer. If you do, and you're excited for the multiplayer, I think you'll be disappointed because there's not a lot there. You have the 6 different classes. You have a main level, or maybe it's a class level, I can't remember off the top of my head. But there's 3 maps and 3 modes. The combat in multiplayer, it's solid. It feels okay. It's not the best, but it's a nice little break from, if you want that PvP experience, it gives it to you. It's not anything masterclass or grand, but it gets the job done. And like I said, it's not the main dish, it's a side dish. It's there, it's enjoyable, but it's not what I'm going to play the most out of what is being offered. All in all, this game really surprised me in many ways. Like I said, I knew I was going to like it, but how much I ended up liking it, I did not expect. It does so many things well. It has a great story with many epic moments, good characters with a lot of solid character moments. The gameplay feels fantastic. And I didn't talk about the visuals. The visuals are great. So many good set pieces. You can feel the scale of this game and just what is happening in the background, in the skybox, in the set pieces. You can really feel the weight of everything that is happening in the scale. It does that so well. And overall, I almost wanted to put this at number 2. I was so close to putting it at number 2, but I couldn't put it there. There's 2 more games that are better than Space Marine 2. But number 3, really loved Space Marine 2. Number 2, the runner-up, is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This game, I said Balatro was my biggest surprise of the year. This is a close second. Obviously, when I saw that they were making an Indiana Jones game, the same people who made the Wolfenstein games, I was like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. A lot of people were kind of put off by the first-person perspective. They're like, okay, why are you doing that? It was so easy. You had third person right there in front of you. When you look at games like Uncharted and Tomb Raider, that's kind of what they were looking for. But they took a risk. They went first person. That's kind of their forte. All the Wolfenstein games are in first person, and it really paid off. Everything in this game is so much better than I thought it would be. When I saw the reviews come out, I was like, wow, that really shocked me. I did not think people would like it as much as they did. That's the same way I felt. When you go in and you look at this game, it really does give you that Indiana Jones experience that you're looking for in any kind of medium, but especially in a game. It gives you what you're looking for in an Indiana Jones game. Talking about the story, it is an Indiana Jones story throughout. I will say, my experience with Indiana Jones, I've watched the first two movies. The first one is a fantastic movie. It's a classic. It really is. Anyone can say that. The second movie I wasn't a huge fan of, but I think the last third of the movie I really enjoyed. I have not seen the third, fourth, or fifth movie or really messed with anything else Indiana Jones. But this story is really good. It's one of my favorite narratives of the year. I think that Indiana Jones as a character is written very well. Troy Baker does a fantastic job of portraying him, and the writing is really good. The side characters, they're pretty solid for side characters. They get the job done. Gina is your main side character, and she is a good companion to Indiana and all the other people that you meet across your journey. This journey takes you to many different parts of the world, like pretty much anything that Indiana Jones does takes you to many different places. And it takes you on a journey. You'll see a lot of different things, and I'm trying not to spoil it, but it really is a very good story and one of my favorites of the year. The gameplay, kind of like with Space Marine 2, is what surprised me the most. I had a lot of enjoyment with the gameplay in this game. I was expecting, your typical action. I didn't think it was going to be all that great, if I'm being honest. I thought it would be, kind of whatever. But it kind of throws away the action. There still are your action moments. But I was doing a lot more stealth in this game than I was shooting a gun. I only shot a gun when I had to, but when I had a choice of doing it against shooting a gun, I would always try to go stealth, because stealth felt really good in this game. It feels a lot to me like a Dishonored would, with how this game works. And not just the gameplay and the stealth, but with how the levels are open. And it's not just like a linear, okay, you gotta go follow the main story. You can walk around these open areas. There's 3 open areas. You can walk around them as free as you want and find different side activities and you just kind of explore to your heart's content with the open areas in this game. That was what really shocked me. The hand-to-hand melee combat feels really good. The fact that you can pick up a sledgehammer and use that, or a frying pan. You can just pick up anything you want in this game, use it as a weapon. You can use a gun as a melee weapon. And the hand-to-hand combat, the melee combat in general, just feels really good to block and parry. The punches, it's not a very hard combat system, but it makes up for it with the fact that the punches and the visual effects from those punches look and feel so good. It feels heavy, it feels weighty, and it is a highlight of this game. Progression, I think, is done really well in this game. Progression is basically all based on exploring. You'll go around and you'll find, notes. You'll find, different collectibles. And those, when you collect those, they give you the adventure points, and that's what you can use to buy the different books that give you different abilities, like, more health, or, eating food heals you more than it would have. Stuff like that. The progression is based on exploring, and it's done really, really well. You have your adventure points and your coins, currency type thing, which can be used to buy different things. And you also have your camera, which you can use, that also helps with progression. You go around and take pictures of different people or places or things, and it's all done really well, and it really incentivizes you to go and explore off the beaten path, because you don't know what you might find in this game. Visually, one of the best looking games. Like I said, Stalker's probably the game that I'd say is the best looking game of the year, but this is a really close second. There were a lot of good looking games this year, but the cutscenes and the character models and animations in this game are all top tier, and they look as good as they have in any other video game that I have played. It really helps with immersing yourself as Indy, and the first person perspective, I think, works really well. It's super unique for this type of game, and as I was playing it, I was like, wow, yeah, this actually kind of makes sense, because Wolfenstein's first person. This game is set during, I think it's right before World War II starts, so it's like right up Machine Games' alley of, this is kind of their wheelhouse. So they take Indiana Jones, they take that IP, and they turn it into a game that, to me, it works so well. One of my biggest surprises of the year, I did not think this game would be nearly as good as it was. Also got to shout out Voss, he's a great villain. And go play Indiana Jones and the Great Circle if you haven't already. It's on Game Pass. It's coming to PlayStation, I think, in spring. So just whatever you're playing on, go play this game. You will not regret it. It is great. There it is. My game of the year for 2024 is Astrobot. Now, I might hear some people saying, a lot of people have been saying since Astrobot won Game of the Year that, it didn't deserve it. It's just a kid's game. There's no way this game should have won it over Black Myth Wukong or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Metaphor ReFantazio. And I have not played those games, so I'm not going to sit here and say that Astrobot is better than those games, because I've not played those games. I've only played what I've played. But for what I've played this year, Astrobot is the most fun that I have had in a video game in a long time, if not ever. It really just hits everything it goes for. Fan service, just pure fun that you can have in this game is unmatched so far this year for me. I'm not sure what I'm saying so far. It is unmatched in general this year in terms of a fun video game, which is what you want. You want a video game to be fun at the forefront. You don't want anything else. If that's all you have in a game is that it's fun, then you're sitting pretty good. But while this game is really fun, it's not just fun, because everything else that it does in this game is fantastic. The levels and the level design, this game looks really good. Like I said, pretty much every game I played this year has some sort of art style and visually looks really good, and this game is no different. It really does look so good. And the levels in this game, there's so many levels. It packs in so much content that every game or every level is something different. It's not just the same thing over and over again. You know, one level you might be in a kind of foresty biome area. The next area you're, scaling a crane, or you'll be in a Japanese temple area. And just the variety of locations and levels in this game is unmatched. The level design is so good. Just exploring these levels just feels so good. Looking for the different bots, puzzle pieces, all the secrets that this game has to offer, and the detail that Team Asobi brings to this game. It just makes exploring and taking in these levels so worth it. And the music that goes along with each level. There are no bad levels. There are no bad soundtracks. Everything in this game is turned up to 10. And, I played Astro's Playroom. That was the first platinum that I got this year when I got the PlayStation back in February. It comes with the PlayStation. I platinumed it. And I just knew when this game got announced, it was probably going to be my game of the year. And, there's so much more I can say about it. Like I said a little bit earlier, fan service in this game is just out of this world. If you are a PlayStation fan or just in general a fan of games, I'm a fan of games. And the amount of different bots and references and stuff like that this game offers. You'll see lots of different Sony IPs. Last of Us, God of War, Spider-Man. You'll see all these different IPs. And just when you find them and you're like, I know who that is. There's a lot of people, a lot of the bots where I did not know who they were. So the fact that I was able to get some of the references, I think right now they're sitting at 322 bots. Now, not all of those are the cameo bots, but a good chunk of them are. So there's a lot of fan service in this game for people that are like, Resident Evil, Jak and Daxter, Helldivers, Stellar Blade. I mean, you can just go down the list, and Crash Bandicoot. I can keep going, but fan service in this game is top notch. They really knock it out and just make you happy to be a fan of games when you play this game. Going for the platinum in this game was such a fun experience, and I was so happy and so willing to do it just because this game, it doesn't waste your time. It hits on, exploration, levels, the crash site when you go back in your main base area, and it just keeps building as the game goes on. And the game just keeps surprising you in so many ways. And you kind of think you're close to being done, and then boom, there's more levels and speedrun levels, and they're still adding content to this game. And for free content, I would, it would obviously depend on the price, but I would be willing to pay money to get more levels. And, they might hear that and be like, oh, okay, let's do it. I'm happy to do it. They deserve it because the quality of the levels, there's quality and there's quantity here. You never really usually get both. You usually either get one or the other. You'll get a few bits of quality or you'll get a lot of quantity. But this game does both, and it does it really, really well. Overall, I could keep talking about this game. It is, like I said, the most fun that I've had in a video game in a hot minute. It is super special to me. I could play it through one more time, and I don't replay games. I rarely ever replay games. I'm always, okay, I'll play through a game, I'll go on to the next. But when I was going back and getting gameplay for this video, playing levels that I've already played a couple of times through, I'm still just smiling. I'm still just having such a good time, even though I've already seen all this stuff because of the music and the way the levels are and look and how they're designed. It still all just feels so good. And if you haven't played Astrobot, anybody can enjoy this game. even if you think, it's a kid game. It's a 3D platformer, which I don't really play a whole lot of, but I think I might need to start because, I've never even really played any of the Mario games. So this kind of scratches that itch that I've been, kind of wondering about. But if you have any kind of interest in this game, anybody can enjoy this game and have just as much fun as I have. And it is my Game of the Year 2024. And yeah, Astrobot. Go play Astrobot. So that is it for the video. If you've made it this far, I appreciate you watching all the way through to the end. This is my first video on the channel. This is something that I want to try and build and just have fun with as a little side project, to just have a reason to talk about video games. And in the next couple of days, I'll have a video out about the games that are releasing next year in 2025, because there's so many of those. And a big reason why I've decided to start this channel is because next year is going to be such a big year for video games. So I'll have that video out in the next couple of days. I'll also have a video out, another 2024 video, the last one I'll do, talking about the games that I played in 2024 that were not new games this year. Games that, are older games that I got to experience for the first time in 2024. That might be a more laid back, chill. I might do a tier list with that video, so I can get that out a little bit quicker. And then also, very soon I will do my first little weekly update video, which is kind of the reason why I'm doing this channel. I want to kind of use this channel as kind of like a journal of what I've been playing and how I've been feeling about the games that I have been playing. So I want to do those videos and sprinkle in some of, some topics, like we'll talk about any kind of events that are happening, like game shows. I want to talk about how I feel about those. Just whatever I can think of, along with those weekly update videos. I want to throw in some, gaming topic videos where we'll find something to talk about. So I'm really excited to see where this goes, just to have some fun with it. Not really worry too much about it, but just as a way to, have an excuse to talk about games, which is something I, like to do. I like to talk about games. So I appreciate you watching till the end. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you later.